he gets a physical pain in his stomach, and he feels that something in me energetically is reaching out to him and trying to take something from him which he has built up through his meditation practice, like almost like a vampiric energy from me is trying to suck it out of him. And I continue to have negative emotions. It doesn't help because, for one, I feel crap, and then for two, he doesn't like to be around me when my emotions are negative.
Okay. I have a confrontative question for you, if you want it.
Okay.
Do you think he's the only person you can be getting your needs fulfilled?
Claire is in a relationship that is not fulfilling. She feels separated from her partner, but still entangled financially, emotionally, and spiritually. He has named her presence vampiric. She has accepted the label. This session asks, whose rules is the game of love played by? We talk about unfulfilled needs and strong emotions. One belief she keeps returning to: love is a hopeless venture. Watch how visual coaching turns a tangled story into structure. Claire can actually see that, and how seeing it shifts what she is willing to say out loud. The session moves from describing him to locating her. What does she want? What is she suppressing? And what is the cost of staying in the game? By the end, she reads her own words back off the boards, and the last line is the most impactful thing that she says in the whole session. I am Max, and this is Visual Coaching.
Okay, hello Claire. Good to see you.
Yep, good to see you.
I'm happy to have a coaching conversation with you today, run you through our visual coaching framework, and I'm curious, what is your topic for today's session?
Okay. So I was in a relationship for 4 years, and about a year ago, my partner decided to leave the relationship. For the last, let's say maybe 3 or 4 months, we've been spending quite a bit of time together, maybe 2 or 3 days a week we meet. And I would like to re-enter the relationship, but he's not sure. So yeah, there's just stuff coming up around that.
Okay. Can you expand a bit more on your relationship of the 4 years? I assume there were already ups and downs, how it is normal in relationships. And at some point there was the breakup, which also happened in certain circumstances. What's the full story here?
The full story might be a bit complicated, but
Okay, what's the abbreviated story here that we need to tackle the topic?
yeah. Okay, so we both live in India, and we're both Australian, and we met here. And I've lived here in this town for 11 years, and he's lived here for 20 years. It's basically one of the most spiritual towns in the world, really. It's like people who live here have a very intense focus on their spiritual practice. Otherwise, they wouldn't live here. It's not that comfortable to live here. So he's quite intense in his meditation. I would say he meditates maybe 6 hours a day, every day. He has done for a very, very long time. As part of his sort of the side effects, you could say, of the meditation, he's very, very, very sensitive, and he spends a lot of time alone as well. So the main thing, which for him at the moment is stopping him from re-entering the relationship, which was a theme throughout the relationship, is that he feels at certain times in our interactions, he gets a physical pain in his stomach, and he feels that something in me energetically is reaching out to him and trying to take something from him, which he has built up through his meditation practice, like almost like a vampiric energy from me is trying to suck it out of him, and that it sabotages him in his life and his progress. One of the things which is the most important, like one of the most important things where that has happened has been that he hasn't had any money for about 4 years. So I supported him financially completely for 3 years. In the last year since we've been separate, he borrowed some money and invested the money and then withdrew the money. So he's now in debt. And that has always been an issue because I earn enough money to live in India, but I'm not rich. So it's not like oh yeah, no worries. It's kind of like, okay, as long as there's something coming, then I'm okay to do that. But it does develop a kind of imbalance in the relationship where he is kind of dependent and then resents feeling dependent, and then I also feel, sometimes I feel passive aggressive or resentful because I don't feel there's equality in what's being given into the relationship. Also because, I'm always the one who wants to be in the relationship and wants to do the work to be in the relationship, whereas he's usually the one who's withdrawing and then like kind of reluctantly, seemingly comes back. So yeah, it's kind of a difficult situation.
Okay. So let me sort this out a bit. So we have that financial cluster that brings a certain complexity to your relationship. You said the inequality, you're making some money, but not that much money. And I hear that you would actually like him to be self-sustainable
Yeah.
between the lines. Is that correct?
Yes, I would. But because he doesn't have money, it does seem that sometimes, because I'm trying to make the relationship happen again, sometimes I think that if I give him something, he might then be more inclined to be in the relationship. For example, I'm currently offering him a free trip to Europe and Egypt because
wow.
I think that if we travel together and stay together for a few weeks, that it's more likely that we'll get back together because we'll be sleeping in the same bed. So,
Sure,
it's
shared relationships are a big thing to build connection, to build relationships.
yeah. Yeah. So even though like I want him to be independent and want to be in the relationship, but right now he's not showing me that he really, really wants to. So I'm kind of, in a way, using that as a leverage, which I don't want to do, but I'm just kind of grasping at what I can offer.
So you already have different ideas how to get to where you want. You have the travel together idea, spend time together. At the same time, you have that financial lever, and then I mean the mind plays tricks on us, right? So you have that consciously there.
Mm.
And do already spend quite some time together, although you're not together. So
So there's been no sexual intimacy for almost 1 year now, about 1 year.
okay. And you would like to have that. Give me 1 second to.
What?
Yeah, it's. I just said, I try to sort things out, and then we go deeper into the different topics here. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So you see, the whole meditation, the, it's. I mean, 60. 6 hours per day is more than a habit, right? Say, I would rather say that's a lifestyle, right? Is definitely one thing that also connects the financials. I'll say.
He is
Yes,
working on a
yes.
project now. Since he moved out, he's had more time to focus on the project that he's working on. But he's not, I would say, I have a different way of approaching business than him. If it were me, I would immediately be looking for revenue, like, how do I make money out of this? And then how do I build it? Whereas he's trying to make it perfect first, and then he's hoping that at some point there'll be some money, but it's not very strategic. So if like I've offered a lot of support in that, I have skills in that, I have experience in that, I can help him, but he doesn't want to feel dependent on me, so he doesn't necessarily want my help in that way. So that's also a bit frustrating because he is spending a lot of time on this project without any kind of idea of when there's going to be a financial return on that.
Yeah, I see. I think we can also go a bit more there if that seems like the most promising path in that conversation. Let's talk about how your relationship is at the moment. How do you experience your relationship at the moment? You already said you haven't been intimate for a year, but you still spend this 3 to 4 days a week together. How can I imagine where you are at the moment?
So mostly we are just going out for dinner or going out for afternoon tea or breakfast. So it's usually a meal. So like for me, it's just like I know that he likes to do that, so I offered that as a way for us to interact because I want to spend time together, but I'm hoping that it will go somewhere else. It's not like I love meeting for dinner that much.
So it's already it's already a connection strategy from your end
Yes.
to spend time together.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, like the last time we met was for dinner on Sunday night. I had suggested that we meet earlier in the day for like, I can't remember, for breakfast or something. And he said no, he was busy. And then, okay, we go for dinner. So he likes to go to the restaurant that has air conditioning because it's really hot right now. And neither of us have air conditioning in our houses. So it's kind of like, okay, I can pay for the fancy restaurant for us to go and sit in the air conditioning. And I pay for the food and we eat food that he wants to eat. I actually like to cook at home. I make really healthy food at home, but he wants to eat very rich North Indian food. So we go there and I kind of eat this much of it. But this time he was more kind of affectionate, like he was being very familiar with me and like touching my clothes and opening my bag and like looking at things, and like it felt more like he was more interested in actually being close. And when we left, like when he asked if we could leave because the restaurant became noisy and he gets very overwhelmed by noise, he asked if we could leave. And then I just had this, like, it was like, well, he's supposed to come over now. You know, so I was just like staring at him as he was like leaving, and he was kind of like asking me what I'm doing tomorrow and stuff. And I was like, are you seriously not coming over again? But I just kind of tried to just be like, okay, just accept it. But it's pretty frustrating to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds very frustrating.
I see.
Yeah.
Um, how was your relationship in the 4 years that you have been in a close relationship? And when did it end? I didn't get that in the beginning.
Yeah, he broke up with me in June last year, so it's almost 1 year.
Okay.
What can I say about that? I mean, it was a long relationship, 4 years we were together. So it changed a lot in the 4 years. So in the last 6 months, so 6 months before he broke up with me, he moved out. He was living at my house for about 2.5 years. Then he moved out, and obviously he paid for the rent for the new place with the money that he borrowed. So then he was coming over every day, usually at night. Like, he would sleep over and then we'd have the morning together, and then he would go to his flat and work on his project and meditate there. So he had more space. My house is really small. It's not really big enough for 2 people to live in, but he didn't have money. So we also couldn't find anything nicer. Like, where we live, it's not easy. It's not even about money, but there's just no good houses here. So it just practically wasn't really possible to offer something more. But he was always feeling like, because I was working, I would go into the office and close the door, and then I would have to go through the rest of the house to go to the kitchen and stuff, and he would feel always interrupted. Whatever he was doing was always interrupted. So he never felt like he was prioritized because he didn't have a schedule. So he was very resentful about that. That's kind of negative stuff. But in terms of like the positive stuff, there was a lot. Like, there was a lot of like humor. Like, we have a very, very similar kind of way of understanding the world. We both have a shared spiritual practice and spiritual direction. That's very important for both of us. Yeah, we have this very similar, even like political views. We traveled together all over the world. We stayed with each other's families. We had really good adventures, like hiking and just like discovering things together.
Beautiful.
We had, share friendships. So yeah, a lot of the relationship was excellent.
Yeah. And throughout these full 4 years, you supported him financially, right? Is that correct?
So yeah, not for the first year. So for the first year, when we were just kind of dating, he was living at his place, and then I didn't even know what his financial situation was. But then I asked him to go traveling with me up to the north of India, and I offered it to him as a gift for his birthday, and our anniversary at that time. And then while we were on the trip, he said to me at some point, I'm running out of money, and I'm not going to have any money soon. And I said, well, I would like to continue the trip. So how about, we just keep going, and I'll just pay for us both to continue the trip. And, if you need support in terms of how to think your way out of this situation, I'm here, but I can't do it for you. But in this interim period, I can support us. So that was the agreement, but then it just kind of continued on, and I just kept paying for everything. So the next, until he moved out. And even after he moved out, when we were still together, I was still paying for food, petrol, phone bill, everything except his
So
rent.
basic stuff, actually.
Everything.
Yeah.
Except his rent at the other place, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot to process now. Thank you so much for sharing, the history a bit more. And I wonder, what is it that you're actually looking for in the relationship? Because there's things you're getting, which are dinner dates, and things you're not getting on different levels, I assume. So what are you expecting? And we can think in the best case scenario, right? Or in the that's the minimum non-negotiable for me, right? So I think we can explore both of those. but what is it that you want and need from a relationship?
Okay. Best case scenario, we get back together and he makes actual progress towards financial independence to the point where at some point, like, he's cleaned up his debt and I don't have to pay for anything. And one day he even starts paying back all the money that I've spent on him, which is quite a lot. But that there's like a shared goal in that. I think in general, we both have very similar goals for life, which is that we both want to continue living here. We want to improve our spiritual practice and continue on the path that we're on. We want to continue traveling to other places and learning. All of that stuff is the same. It would just be, basically the financial stuff and having that better communication for me in the relationship would be better and more commitment and minimum expectation for right now, for short term, would be some commitment that either he's coming with me on this trip or he's going to wait for me. Because if he doesn't come, that's the thing, I'm a bit worried because I'll be away for like 5 to 6 weeks. And there's been a history of him hanging out with my friends when I'm not here. And it kind of, he's never been like sexually intimate with them at all. But there has been like, the possibility of it kind of being pretty clearly there. So I'm quite nervous about going away if there's no commitment to the relationship because I don't want to open up a full can of emotional worms. And, I just would rather be at home if something like that's going to happen. I don't want to be stuck in the Middle East and oil crisis in Europe and something terrible happens. Well, I'm just not going to have the capacity to deal with that very well. So I'm feeling the minimum would be some kind of commitment that we're at least holding a container for a period of time before, like, to work things out, whether it's one way or the other.
What does that mean?
Well, that means that, like, it's not the right time for either of us to start seeing other people when, like, already, for example, this week, we have discussed the possibility of us getting back together. So I don't think it's appropriate while we're having that conversation, even if he decides that he doesn't want to, that either of us start seeing other people. I think we should give more space for that. So I would like there to be some commitment that even if we're separated for that period of time, that we don't do that. Minimum for me in terms of how the relationship would look short term after that period of time would be that we have physical intimacy again. Because, I think that's really important for me, and I know it's important for him too at some point. If it's not happening with the two of us, it's going to want to happen somewhere. So that's going to be first project. That, and then I take it from there. After that, we'll see what happens.
So what I'm seeing here is you're talking a lot about him and his behaviors and not so much about you. I'm not judging that. I'm just stating this because, I have been writing down many posts here. So what I want to do now is to bring the focus a bit more on you. And we still want to stick with the minimum and the best case scenario. But I want you to actually go to the shared link that we have here. And
I'm looking at it, yeah.
I want you to select the needs that you say you need to get fulfilled in both of these cases, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so what do you need. Okay, now you should be able to see lots of different cards that show a whole range of different human needs. And please select up to 10 cards. You can also choose only one if you say there's only one, but I doubt it. Where you say, these are important to me so that I can be content with my life. Because we're having this conversation here because you're not content. So which needs do you need to get met?
Is
Can
this
just
for the is this for the minimum case or the best case, or just either?
both. Yeah, we can sort this out in the second step. So take up to 10. I think that's plenty. And
Okay.
then we can still see which of those are negotiable to which degree. Yeah.
All right. Do you want me to talk you through it as I select them, or just do it quietly?
No, just quietly go through it, select the cards you want, and when you're done, just tell me. You can also take 5 minutes to think about which ones you want to choose, which ones resonate with you, where you have a longing for that.
Okay. So if I select one, can I go back, or do I just, once it's selected, it's selected?
Of course, you can go back. Yeah, you can just unselect.
Okay.
Yeah. Every card on the top right has like this small circle thingy. If you hover over it, and then you can select and unselect.
Oh, okay, cool. So you can do it that way. All right, cool. What does mutuality mean?
What do you think it means?
Maybe like equality? Something like that?
Goes in a similar direction. Yeah. In the end, it's important what it means to you, not so much what it means to me. I can't give you my understanding of it if you want.
Okay. I need to select 10, up to 10.
Yeah. And if you then still want to take more, okay, we can also arrange that.
Okay, so then I press finish selection.
And I'm adding the cards to the board that we're working on. Okay. So these are the things, the needs that you would like to get covered in your intimate relationship. Or are these just the unfulfilled needs where you say, because it strikes me that these are kind of the things that you don't have. We could also do another run, have a look at what are the things that you actually get from this relationship at the moment. And it can boil down to zero, I'm not saying it can't. What do you think?
I guess if things are already there, it's harder to notice them.
100%.
So yeah, these are the ones that are loud because they're not happening very much.
Yeah, these are my unfulfilled needs, you say. These are loud. You're starving on some level.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Seeing these needs.
Yeah, it's helpful to see them. Yep.
How do you feel?
Clear?
Sure, yeah, that gives clarity in the moment. Cool, thanks for the feedback. That's great. how do you feel when these needs are not fulfilled? Sorry, I did that. I phrased that wrong.
Okay. I feel used. I feel inadequate.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about like it's not fair that I don't know how to say that in a better way.
Okay. Let me put this in all caps. I can hear that this is louder behind your voice. Okay, let me help you here, okay? To find the right vocabulary. We do the same exercise again. Just let me give you some vocabulary here. So, which of these emotions, these feelings, do you feel when all of these needs are unfulfilled? And it can be a whole different range. Select as many as you want. I assume there are some clusters here that we can build, clusters of emotions. And let me point out these, and you tell me if I'm wrong, okay? I assume that these two are very closely related because both of those are about having expectations about something and then these expectations being repeatedly not met. Yeah. Which other clusters do you see here? Which are related emotions that often show up at the same time, same context?
I think the anxiety one is kind of maybe separate because that's more to do with like trying to do something. So like maybe before a meeting or like waiting for a response or something, it's like this kind of in between stage where I'm trying to be hopeful, but I'm not really that hopeful. So yeah, it is also to do with expectations, but it's more to do with hope. The determination one is probably, you could maybe go with the anxiety one actually, because yeah, if I'm feeling anxious, it's because I've chosen to try something. So out of my determination, I'm trying, but I just don't feel necessarily that hopeful about it. I'm going to try anyway. And then all the other ones can just pretty much go together because they're just all, you know, they just all go together with the depressive feeling of like, this is never going to work and I'm never going to have a partner that actually wants to do with me. And it's just hopeless adventure.
Yeah. Well, how did you say it right now? I'm never gonna, and then?
I'm
Say
never
that-
going to have I'm never going to have a partner who actually wants to be with me. It's a hopeless venture.
I'm never gonna have a partner who wants to be with me.
Yeah.
And the second one?
It's a hopeless venture.
It's a hopeless venture. I'm writing these down not because they're true, but because our emotions always come together with thoughts, right? And they can't be separated. Ones like we can hear, but others like the emotions we can maybe better feel in our body, see in our own behaviors. You know, when I'm very angry, I can see that I'm clenching my fist, and then I'm like, okay, relax. You know, I'm saying not everything can always be detected cognitively immediately. That's what I'm saying. And these things happen and they come together. Body reaction, thoughts, emotions. And they trigger each other. And I'm very sure that if you think I'm never going to have a partner who wants to be with me, this is a very triggering thought that triggers all these emotions. Being upset, being sad, miserable, weak, despair, hopeless. And emotions can be classified into along a scale of how energizing or de-energizing an emotion is. And from the color here, you can say the more red, right, the more energizing it is, like anger, hate. These are very energizing emotions that also have the purpose for you to act in life. They give you energy to change the situation or move yourself out of the situation, also fine, right? But to do something. And the gray ones here, specifically, also sadness already is on the de-energizing side of things. They are bringing you down, also on a metabolic level. And the purpose, and often they come together with sadness, right? And the purpose being to let go. Sadness is for processing things that we can't change in our lives, which everybody has, right? And so what I'm doing here is I don't want to explain how your emotions work in your specific case, okay? This is generally how we deal with emotions and a little bit of the purpose, evolutionary purpose of emotions. What about the disappointment and frustration? What are thoughts you have with those? We already have these thoughts here. We have the other thoughts down here, right? What are thoughts connected to the disappointment and frustration?
I guess those are like kind of more mild responses to a failed attempt. So it's like, it's not like a terrible event has happened. Like he hasn't like explicitly said, I'm never going to be with you or something like that. But it's just like, you know, even he pleasantly left without a hug or any kind of commitment to the next meeting or anything. It's just like, yeah, it's not as bad as the other ones.
Yeah. And that's also a judgment of nothing terrible has happened. You know, that's also a judgment of your mind about your emotions, which clearly are very negative. You know, what else would make you so unhappy? I'm asking you, is that really true? I mean, I'm doubting that this is actually true. Right? Nothing terrible has happened. Because you're living in a more or less constant, you can tell me, percentages, state of hopeful anxiety, things not working out, the misery of it. And if you try something and it doesn't work out, being frustrated. And that is a very bad state. Okay, so we have these three different emotions, and when my needs are not met, I feel ... Because earlier you weren't able to express how you feel when your needs are not being met. Right? You said you feel used, which is a judgment about your partner. He's using you. Or I feel inadequate, a judgment about yourself. I'm a bad person, or I'm not worthy, or something along these lines behind that idea. Right? Or it's not fair. It's a very strong anger, upset, motivated thought. So let me move those over here. Also, we have this one here specifically. Oh, wait, not this one. This one here. It's not fair. I felt used. Yeah, and let's talk about those two one more thing, because most of the things we say are judgments. I mean, I'm sure you know from your spiritual practice. If I tell you, by the way, anything where you disagree or where you say, Max, I know all of that, leave me alone. Just tell me, okay? I'm not. Just trying to be helpful and to reframe some of the things that we're looking at here, because specifically those two blue post-its are dangerous in a certain way that says here that nothing terrible has happened and you are in a terrible situation. Secondly, you cannot name your feelings, and that's not me saying that there is something wrong with you, but I would say there is a certain competency that you don't have, which is emotion, being able to name how you feel and putting value also behind that, because we usually, the things we value, we know how to name them, how to work with them. How your mind also doesn't value your negative experience. Nothing terrible has happened. Right? What I see here behind that is, to some degree, I do not value so much my own emotions. What do you think about that? What do you think about that assessment? And I'm happy to change that. I just want to mirror that to you.
I think I'm using a strategy of trying not to go into the negative emotions because it doesn't seem to be helpful. So if my goal is to get back into the relationship and I continue to have negative emotions, it doesn't help because, for one, I feel crap, and then for two, he doesn't like to be around me when my emotions are negative. Not just him, but friends as well. Like, I've kind of lost some friends through this separation who couldn't deal with the negative emotions. And so I'm trying not to be excessively negative around this situation.
Understandable. What about being excessively positive?
What about it?
Do you allow yourself to be excessively positive with your emotions?
Yeah, sometimes. Yep. sometimes.
Okay. Why sometimes?
I guess there has to be like a trigger maybe for that. Yeah.
Okay. Let me bring up a new chart. Because we can explain through various different theories how emotions are created, which is important in our context here because you don't want to experience unpleasant emotions. And so my go-to theory is nonviolent communication, and I want to quickly show you how we can work with this. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Oh, then you probably know it.
It's been a long time since I actually went through this.
Okay, then we just do the very basics of nonviolent NVC, and then it's gonna where emotions come from. And that's not a holistic way to think about it because there's other valid approaches to it. But I think this one here is very empowering because we say we have needs and we have the pleasant emotions, and then we have unpleasant emotions. And we get to pleasant emotions, or we go from our needs to unpleasant emotions. And this happens if the need is fulfilled or it's unfulfilled. Yeah. Let's make this actually
Straightforward.
Sorry?
That seems pretty straightforward.
Then it is, and that makes it so powerful. Right. And so by you telling me about your needs, your unfulfilled needs here, which are very loud, you're also telling me that you are in a very unhappy situation. And you told me that... Yeah.
You didn't ask me which needs were fulfilled. So we're focusing on the negative.
Yes. Yes. Let's do that. Let's take the next step and ask you which needs are fulfilled.
Okay.
In the next step.
Is that what you normally do? Or are you just doing that because I said so?
Well, I don't have a strict plan here, but I also do career coaching and other things. So, each person and situation is different. So, but yeah, let's have a look here at the fulfilled needs. 100%. So, which needs would you say are fulfilled? Let's make... Oh. How do these fulfilled needs show up in your life? When do you experience those being fulfilled and leading to pleasant emotions, actually?
So the inspiration and spirituality would be almost the same. I feel very inspired by his practice, and like often he brings states during the interactions. He will bring states into the interaction which are very beautiful. So yeah, that's a massive thing, which is really awesome about the connection. The development is largely how much I have to develop myself to be in the connection, like all the stuff that I have to work on to be okay with things as they are, and to interact with him better. So like it's all the kind of personal development stuff that has to happen for the relationship to continue. Or even if it wasn't to continue, there would still be a period of development. So there's a lot of development. And beauty, because I just find him incredibly beautiful. And every time I look at him, I'm just like in awe of how beautiful he is. And also because he sees the world in a beautiful way, and he draws my attention to that as well. So I'm able to see the world in a more beautiful way just by being with him.
Yeah. And you are lighting up by saying this. Cool.
The other things I don't have in the relationship right now, like a lot of, like this is only 4, right? The other ones I could have done more than 10 easily. But I have had other positive things in the relationship when it was more connected.
Yeah.
It's just that right now it's not connected, so I don't have those things.
So you had those needs, the unfulfilled ones, also fulfilled in the past in that relationship.
Let me double check.
Is that 4?
Yeah, I'd say mostly. I'd say the ones that were like sometimes would have been trust, fairness, consistency, and collaboration. They were always a maybe. Like there was some of it, but not as much as I wanted. The ones were mostly fine. I mean, there were times when the connection and the affection and stuff wasn't great, but it was overall, it was mostly fine.
Okay. So these were mostly fulfilled in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the other ones which are mostly not fulfilled in the past either.
Partially fulfilled.
Okay. Yeah. I'm taking your words. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Trust is a hard one to have partial, though.
I guess it's context dependent now, like everything. Okay. Great. Let's do a recap to see where we are right now. Good for you?
Yeah.
So you told me that you are in a relationship with a man that you would like to have a much closer relationship with. And that is your main struggle at the moment. Your relationship has a longer history of 4 or 5 years by now. Well, no, 5 years or more, actually. Yeah, let me correct that. For more than 5 years. And there's 2 distinct aspects that make this relationship more complicated. One being his very strict meditation practice, and also resulting from that, I assume is resulting from that, the financial situation that he's in. Or at least it will be somehow connected if we explore that more deeply. We looked at the current situation and then and the past in a little bit more detail, that you are sharing this spirituality, which is very important to both of you, the traveling around the world, creating experiences together, and generally a shared worldview. But at the moment, your only working strategy
to actually spend time together is going out to dinner together, which you actually don't like that much. Because you'd rather cook at home.
Yeah. He doesn't like my cooking, by the way.
He doesn't like your cooking.
No, I love cooking. He hates it.
So I would say the strategy is working so-so. It's also fine to cry. Okay, so it's a very emotional situation.
Yeah.
You told me last interaction was very frustrating. You would have liked to spend some more time together. Didn't come that way. And a little bit more about your past and some of the key milestones in the past. Let's put it like this. Or milestone sounds positive. Key turning points or aspects, maybe better, of our joint history. Yeah. From there, we started exploring needs and emotions a bit more deeply because that connects it more to you. And up until here, you framed things mostly as, he is doing this, I'm unhappy with it, but I need to adjust to this and make it happen somehow. While already not looking what you actually need or getting what you actually need. So first we looked into the unpleasant side of things, and then also in the pleasant side. And, sorry, let me delete these from here. I thought I had done that. So, yeah. And we started, and then we started exploring what you actually need. We can come back to this. Let's see if it makes sense. Maybe that's also not even that necessary, but having this personal relationship, that's critical for you. You would like to have somebody to live with, love with, and, on eye level, which is the financial responsibility part, but you're even okay to sacrifice that. I think that's what we can see here. And that's also shown here in these two clusters, right? So you have the things that are mostly fulfilled, needs that were mostly fulfilled in the past, all connected to having a close, intimate relationship with somebody. On the physical side, on probably whatever love language you prefer side. And then the rather unfulfilled needs, again, probably more related to the whole financial story of things. Is that correct? Because that also didn't happen in the past.
Mm-hmm.
To the same degree that you wanted it. Sorry, it did happen in the past, but partially fulfilled. Yeah. What you even now get from the relationship, which is not a very fulfilling one, is inspiration, spirituality, that shared understanding and practice that comes with it. You're inspired by his practice. And you said he brings beautiful states. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Maybe you can expand on that once more.
Yeah, so sometimes when we spend time together, we go into a state together, like a very blissful state. And that's largely to do with our spiritual practice. It's like meeting together in a spiritual state and expanding that state.
Okay, like higher consciousness together. exclamation mark. Okay, that's 3 exclamation marks. Because that is a very intimate interaction. You know, on the far other end of being intimate, you know, physical and spiritual, but still very much connected. Okay. And then you mentioned the development and beauty side, where you say, I have to develop for the relationship to continue, also for my own sake in any case. So you see him and in your relationship as a challenge for your personal growth and beauty. Probably these are not even, these are separate now. Okay. Cool. We explored the unpleasant emotions a bit that you feel because your needs are not met. There are quite some needs not being met, and there are quite some emotions that are unpleasant that come with it, which in the end brought you to that conversation, right? And at the same time, you fear those emotions because the thought is, if I have negative emotions and I bring them into the relationship, this will trigger the end. And then we talked about quickly in between how emotions and needs are connected in an NVC perspective. Now, seeing all of this laid out, the things that you told me, and if I should correct anything, also from a wording perspective, just let me know. I'll correct it. It's really for you. But how do you feel about seeing all of this?
You know, I guess I can see that like there's a big job there to try and make this relationship work. It's a lot of, yeah, it's heavy, right? There's a lot of stuff on the negative side. There's also some really beautiful stuff on the positive side, but yeah, it seems like there's a fairly big gap of getting back to a state of the relationship where there's as much positive as there is negative. And even when it was, you know, in its positive version, it wasn't positive enough. Otherwise, we would still be together. So it's not just getting it back to that. It's actually has to go beyond that for it to work. So yeah, it just looks like a lot of work. But you know, I'm still here to do that. So it's just making it very more obvious that it's a lot.
Okay. I know we're running already towards the end of the session, but I want to ask you if you still have some more time after that, depending on, because I also don't want to force an end when there's no, you know, the end of the conversation, I think, should feel natural. And I don't think we are there yet exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to explore again, not again, I want to explore his side of the story. Because the relationship is something that needs to be there and wanted from both sides. And we have explored your point of view on the relationship and also your emotions and needs, how you see it. And now I think it would be great to explore his perspective to the degree possible that we can do it here, him not being here. Is that good with you?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Then how do you think he sees the current situation? how does he feel? What are his needs and thoughts? And you don't have to structure it exactly into these different categories, but the question is, what's his, to the degree possible, holistic view on your relationship at the moment?
Obviously, I don't know. I can only say as much as he's told me and as much as I'm inferring. But I feel he considers me a close person to him. Like, we have companionship to a point. I'm definitely the person he spends most time with in the whole world, even now. So I don't like to use the word friend, but there is like a friendship. I feel he gets a level of understanding from me that he doesn't get from most people. So in most senses, maybe not in all cases, but I think he feels pretty understood by me. He also gets like a bit of relief because when I do pay for the fancy dinner or whatever, because at the moment he doesn't have any money. He's mostly living off like free food that they give to the monks. So he doesn't have like options things. So he gets like a relief. I take him out for ice cream. The monks don't get ice cream. So he gets some treats. So the last time we had an actual conversation about whether we're going to get back together now, which was like, I think it was less than 2 weeks ago. He said that he could see like potential for us to work together, which we talked about many times over the years, which I was always ready to do. So I think he does see like, in terms of us as a business partnership where we can support each other, that is possible. And he can see that there is great potential for that. But he's afraid because he considers himself to be much more spiritually advanced than almost anybody on the planet. And it's very easy for him to be affected in a negative way by other people energetically. So he sees me as a threat because he doesn't view my spiritual state to be the same as his. So because I don't have what he has, I would maybe even subconsciously take away from him. So I could decrease his positive experience of life simply by being close to him. And so could almost everybody. So, but he does say, like, he's had many relationships in the past. I believe I'm the longest partner he's ever had. But he does say that in the past, he's never had the experience that he has with me, which is that he can feel very strong negative feelings sometimes after our interactions that he's never had from other partners. So it's like there's some like level of connection which is happening, like an exchange, which he feels is like vampiric on my side. That's unique. He says that's unique. However, I don't think he's fully aware that he has said that in other circumstances. He's had similar experiences with people who are not even necessarily his partner. But anyway, this is what he says. I think he gets from me like a shared communication style, so we easily understand each other. We live in a foreign country. There's not many Australians our age very, very, very few. So in that sense, we understand each other more than anybody else does in a cultural level. Humour, um, sensitivity, um, yeah. Yeah, I don't know where he's at with like the physical side. I don't know how much of that from him is like that he's lost attraction to me. I don't know. I'm definitely a lot older than I was when we got together. Um, I know that at the time when we did get together, he was very attracted to me and that he saw that as a threat as well. Like to his, like that he might choose to interact with me when he shouldn't because he was attracted to me. Um, I, I don't know where he's at with that now. Um, He has also said, like, even though we've spent a lot of time with each other's families, or some time with each other's families, and like some of our old friends and stuff, that he feels uh, I caused his relationships with some key people in his life to deteriorate through my presence in their relationship. I don't think it's necessarily fair because if he was to look at how I improved some of his relationships, that is also there, but I don't think he's necessarily giving me any credit for that. I think I can be a scapegoat for a lot of things for him. I think that he blames me for a lot of things. Yeah, he blames me for not having any money, even though I feel like I offered him a lot, and I was always open to alternatives. Yeah, he sees that it's kind of my fault. Like that I wanted to keep him down so that I had control over him. And I'd say he's also afraid of the depth of my negative emotion. And because there have been times in the relationship where I've been so desperately panicked about him leaving that I would like be visibly distressed, and that would cause him to feel afraid of like what could happen if he continues to have a relationship with me, like if I'm not emotionally stable to handle things. He probably also feels like in some way restricted by being with me because he would like to he frequently just leave. Like he would just leave the house and then sleep in a field and not come back for like 2 days sometimes. Sometimes he just leave me in a guest house in the Himalayas by myself, not even tell me that he wasn't coming back, and then contact me like 3 or 4 days later and say, "Oh, yeah, you can come." But he just like to have this like feeling like he's just free, that he's just like a monk, like a wandering monk, and he can just go wherever he wants, and everything he does is highly spiritual. Yeah, I'm caricaturing him now. Yeah. Not sure if we can think of much else right now. That's a lot.
Wow. Again, that's a lot to process.
The one there you've got the last conversation. That was 2 weeks ago, not 10.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. I think I need some more processing time to arrange the things here the way that they make sense. But let me show you where I am at the moment. Okay, so one easy one is your insecurity, right? That he might have lost attraction for you because you're getting older, we all do, and that this might be a contributing factor. Okay, let's just have this there. It's probably not the main topic here. On the right side, I try to put the things that are connected to his spiritual state. And I want to mirror you back, just repeat back to you the things that more or less he would say to you. And then after that, I want you to tell me if you think that's actually true. So he says that he is spiritually very advanced, more than you, for sure. Also more than others, but they're just the others.
Yes, I think he does.
Through that, he's looking down on you and doesn't consider you an equal at all. Quite the contrary. You put the term spiritual vampire there several times. It's a very drastic one. And that means that through your presence, you affect others negatively. Him, his friends, his relationships, in the moment, later, kind of after effects. And that hinders his practice, that hinders his relationships, etc. And so you said you feel like being the scapegoat, he blames me. And these are clearly things putting the blame on others. And he says that you would keep him down. Let's actually have that on a separate post-it. Looking at those green post-its, are those true?
Like, are they true in terms of, does he really do that, or is it really true ultimately for me?
Well, is it true objectively?
Objectively,
Objectively, we ask his friends, or we ask the highest spiritual being in the universe and ask, is that objectively true? Okay.
Right. I mean, objectively, if he feels negative after our interactions, then he feels negative. The other
Sure,
ones,
but you being the cause of that, that's something completely different. He
right?
being objectively more spiritually advanced, is that a fact or is that an opinion of an entitled brat?
That's not a coach thing to say.
No, it's not, but I'm also here to offer you perspective, so.
Sure. Okay, so all of those ones, or you're also including the ones at the top. I was just looking at the ones under spiritual vampire.
Yeah. No, I think it's all connected. The green ones are telling like one story. I'm better than you, and you make my life more miserable. That's the green post-its.
Right. Yes. Yeah. He definitely, often, he definitely has that view and expresses that view. And I think in terms of spiritual advancement, if I was to look at it objectively, I think in some cases he's more advanced in terms of like, he can very easily go into a blissful state. He does it very regularly, and I'm jealous of that. Like, it's great for him. But if you look at, now I'm getting more into this kind of the horizontal enlightenment, which is like we have work to do on the physical as well, because you don't get to be in meditation all day. You can be in a specific kind of state sometimes when you're awake and stuff, but in terms of the kind of meditation he's doing, he can't have that experience when he's walking around, and so he's frequently upset about that. So I think in terms of like horizontal development, maybe I might be in some ways more advanced than he is, but he's not thinking about those things as necessarily being spiritual. So it depends how you categorize it. Sorry, that was a long answer.
Oh, that's good. And that also confirms to some degree what I was thinking. Within his definition of spirituality, that only he can live, he's the most advanced. Great. By the rules of the game that only you play, you're number one. Can we stop judging other people by the game that only you play, I think that's a very reasonable thing to say.
Yeah. I guess the issue is like if I want to play the game with him, because to interact with him, he sets a lot of rules about who gets to do that. And so I'm trying to do that. And so at some point I have to kind of concede to him and say, okay, you've chosen this set of rules and I'm going to accept them because otherwise I don't get to do it. Like maybe there's some room in there for that to move, but yeah, I'm like, I have to support what his main priority is that he has high meditative states. So I do what I can to support him to continue those. And a lot of that seems to be trying to be someone who doesn't detract from those.
Two things I want to add here. One, it is a game that he makes for himself and you can only fail. I'm putting this there from what I have heard. If you want to play this game, you will always fail. Because it's not a game made for two players. It's very simple. It's a game of living in solitude, not interacting, by that controlling all variables, and then claiming being advanced because I can be in a meditative state without being interrupted, which is something that, surprise, nobody in the outside monk world can ever do. So, and that, that's like a cheat code for life, so to say. Not saying anything is bad with doing that, right? If you can, and you can afford to do that, and that's what you want to do, 100%. But I am also sure, if you speak to other spiritual masters, people who are considered, and you can look into anywhere in the world, they will not say that disconnecting yourself from the world, retreating into yourself, will be the game to play in life. In contrast, I want to offer, and I'm saying this not because it's a factual statement, okay? I'm saying this to bring a different perspective that he's definitely not bringing to you, and I'm not sure if other people are bringing that to you. The perspective I want to offer is the highest state of enlightenment or spiritual advancement that you can get is if you can be in this blissful state in the real world within the constraints of traffic noise, of kids that are just playing around, never do what you want, of a boss that hates your guts, of the coworker that is judging you in the lunch break because you have a ketchup stain on your dress. I don't know, right? So being,
being and coming back to that state of no judgment, despite being in this noisy environment, that is the real challenge. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Because then
he's
you have
fully
to
aware.
interact with others.
Yeah, he's fully aware of that perspective. I mean, the place where we're sponsored by an institution that teaches that. So he's fully aware of that, and he's been through that teaching in a deep level for a period of time, and then shifted into what he's doing now. So
Yeah.
it's not like that would be news to him,
Okay.
but he's more like, yeah, I think he's just he's more on the yogic path now. But to succeed in the yogic path, it does require quite an extreme environmental situation, and he's also not fully committed to that. So he's kind of a little bit in and a little bit out, and that's probably some kind of conflict that's going on for him internally, I guess.
In the end, the question that you will have to ask yourself is, do I want to play this game with him? And is he able and willing, that's the alternative, to adapt however he wants to choose to live his life, to a compromise that includes your perspective, your needs, and appreciation of what you're doing, of who you are as a being? Because I also don't see appreciation here. If there's one thing I'm not seeing, it's appreciation.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's yeah.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Oh, and the day, the day I saw appreciation would be like, would be incredible.
Yeah.
To be honest, though, I feel like he's a little bit more appreciative now, a little bit. Occasionally, I see it and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Okay. I have a confrontative question for you, if you want it.
Okay.
Do you think he's the only person you can be getting your needs fulfilled?
If I didn't think that, I might not still be here. I do think he's quite likely the only person.
How is that? Like
Because
1 billion people on the planet. Like,
yeah, practically the place where we live, where I've been living for a long time, where I'm probably going to continue living, the options are very, very limited. And I think he's genuinely 1 in a billion for me. If I was to consider meeting somebody else, it would be taking like a lot of concessions. Like it's unlikely that I would have most of my needs met by another person.
well, you don't
So
get them met now either, so.
I know, but yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of relationships in life, and none of them have been anywhere near as satisfying as this one, even though it's very dissatisfying right now. Like, he's definitely the most, it's the person that I like the most in the whole world. And yeah, I don't want another partner who's like, you know, manipulative or not faithful or too old or like just he doesn't understand the past the way that we do, or wants to live somewhere else, or it's
Sounds
lots of
like you have a
things.
history of bad relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody ever looks back at their past relationships and says they were good. I mean, why are you not in the relationship? And then it's to end
Sure.
it for a reason, right?
Yeah, but many people stay friends, and so that exists.
Yeah, I used to be friends with some of my exes, but after we got together, I stopped because we both found that we were both very jealous. So we
Yeah, yeah.
just,
I'm not saying that's the thing to do. I'm just saying you can look positively back on your past relationships. That's what I'm saying, and also how it ended might not be a reason to resent the relationship. Which is the case if you say manipulative, you resent the relationship, not being faithful, right? So these are the drastic outcomes in the end.
yeah, I mean, the older guy didn't do anything wrong. He's just too old.
Yeah. Well, okay. As we're running a little bit low on time here, let me wrap things up, and then we can see how we take it from there. Yeah. No. Two things I want to mirror to you, and then we wrap it up. First, it seems like you have a history of bad relationship. That means you lose faith in other options, and you commit to something that, at least at the moment, is still not working. The relationship makes you unhappy, and it does sound, if not intentionally, still emotionally very negatively impactful for you by a person claiming to be spiritually advanced, but not taking responsibility for their own emotions and their own relationships, which is really child level. Now, I'm teaching my kids that I don't cause your emotions. They don't have it, internalized yet. I think that will take another 10 years. So I have little kids, okay? So I'm not saying that I was successful there yet. But given the power hierarchy, including the resentment from his side towards you, sounds very unhealthy.
Yeah.
And given your history, and we haven't explored that at all, so I really don't know, okay? But I assume there's a pattern for you because you don't go into negative relationships one after the other without playing a crucial part in it. And I don't say anything about fault, but about system dynamics. And that's something we could explore in another conversation. And with nothing that I said, I want to upset you, change your opinion, but only want to offer you the best outside perspective that I can, given as my responsibility in this call. To wrap things up, or do you want to respond to this or not? It's totally fine.
No, I appreciate you reflecting that all back, and I would just like to request a copy of the slides that we
Of course, yeah. Absolutely.
Great.
I'll send it to you after the call directly.
Awesome.
But I want, as the very last thing of our conversation, if I can ask you, I want you to run us through the slides once more in your own words. And tell me what to correct on the slides so that they represent your perspective, because I have sometimes used your words, sometimes my words, and it might not be the best fit. It doesn't have to, but it has to be at least an acceptable fit for representing your reality.
Okay.
Okay.
I can't press them. You have to press them.
Yes,
I think.
here you go. Here's where we started.
Oh,
Let's just go through it linearly from left to right.
Okay. Okay. So the history of the relationship, we were together for 4 years. We now spend actually 2 or 3 days a week together. We're both Australian, living in India for a long time in a spiritual town, and he broke up with me a year ago. I would like to re-enter the relationship, to travel together, and so there's an issue with the financial situation, which is that he doesn't have any money, and I would like him to have his own money. He's working on a business idea, but doesn't feel like he's being very strategic about it financially. He's resenting that dependency, and he spends, when he's not working on his business project, he's meditating pretty much almost the whole day, which makes him very sensitive. He spends a lot of time on his own, and aside from the financial dynamic, the main reason why he doesn't want to be in the relationship anymore is because he has like an energetic reaction to me that manifests as a physical pain in his stomach and a fear that I'm taking something from him spiritually. Okay, so at the moment, we haven't slept together for almost about a year. We've been like going out for meals a few times a week usually, which I'm paying for, which I just do because I want to spend time with him, but actually I usually prefer to eat at home. So the last visit that we had together after the restaurant was very frustrating for me. He didn't come over afterwards, and I just felt like it was about time, and it's just still not happening, so I'm feeling quite annoyed about that. The good parts of the relationship, we understand the world in a similar way. We have a similar spiritual practice. We love traveling all over the world together. He moved out about 6 months before he broke up with me. So partially because we had a small living space and he felt that he was constantly being interrupted, so he wasn't able to do what he was trying to do. So in the best case scenario for the relationship, I would see it pretty much similar to how it was when we were together, except that he would be financially responsible for himself. And the minimum standard that I would need for the relationship to move forward is either we stay physically together, or when we're not together, there is a container for us to commit to not being with other people, and that there is physical intimacy again. So currently I'm feeling that my unfulfilled needs are needs that were mostly fulfilled in the past version of the relationship when we were together. So the main ones that were fulfilled are connection, affection, intimacy, touch, sex, and spirituality. And the ones that were sometimes fulfilled but not consistently are trust, fairness, collaboration, and consistency. So what I am getting out of the current version of the relationship is inspiration of his practice as shared spirituality, higher consciousness states that we enter together, a lot of personal development, and the beauty of being in his company because he is just so beautiful. When my needs are not met in the relationship, so in the worst case, I feel like it's not fair. I have the emotions of being upset, miserable, sad, weak, hopeless, and in despair. The thoughts that I have are like, I'm never going to have a partner who wants to be with me. It's hopeless. If I have very negative emotions, he doesn't want to be around me. So those are the emotions that are like the worst version. When it's like mediocre bad, then I have like disappointment and frustration around unmet expectations when it's not like the worst situation ever, but it's still not great. In these situations, I'm feeling like used and inadequate, but I still keep trying. So as I'm trying to improve the relationship and reconnect, I often feel a lot of anxiety because I'm trying to maintain hope for the relationship, but I still don't feel that hopeful. And but I'm trying to maintain determination, which, it's kind of in between determination and anxiety, kind of interchange. And for me to have positive emotions about anything, there has to be a trigger for those emotions. According to NVC, my positive emotions come from having fulfilled needs, and my negative emotions come from unfulfilled needs.
And that is very different from saying, you cause the emotion in me. I cause the emotion in me, because these are my needs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So when I see all of this, I feel that it's a lot of work and there's a big gap between the pleasant and unpleasant emotions, but I'm still here to do the work on the relationship.
Yeah.
So when I look at his side of the relationship, positively, he considers me a very close person to him. We have companionship. He spends more time with me than anyone else. He feels at least partially understood by me, and he gets some relief when we spend time together and doing nice things. We have a cultural understanding, and but on the negative side, he can remember the physical distress that he saw me in when we were in a relationship, when things were not going well. On the positive side, he does mention that he does see potential for us to work together as a business partnership. I'm not sure if part of the reason why he's not wanting to be physically intimate with me anymore is because he might have lost attraction for me, or he doesn't feel physical chemistry with me anymore. He doesn't feel particularly appreciative of me or the relationship because he considers himself to be very spiritually advanced and that I'm beneath him on that sense. He kind of makes the rules for the relationship and for anyone that he interacts with generally. So it's quite easy to fail because he's the one who makes the rules that reinforce his position in the game. He also says that I'm a spiritual vampire and that my presence and that of others affect his spiritual state negatively. I apparently also deteriorate his relationships with others. He often feels very negative after interacting with me, and he blames me for keeping him down financially and in other ways. I still feel that he's the best person for me because I've had a lot of relationships and he is the person I like the most in the whole world. I don't want another crap partner, and I don't have a lot of faith that there is anyone else that would be better. So better to commit to a lost cause.
Yeah. Let me rephrase that because this is just purely my wording. Commit to him. I'll put it like
Thanks.
this. The other one was slightly judgmental. Oh, how do you feel right now?
I feel a little exhausted. It was a lot. And obviously, it's not a particularly positive picture that's painted at the moment. I'm feeling like, yeah, I feel like I might need to regain some of that determination. I want to move forward now. Yeah, it's helpful in that, if we're coming back together, it has to be a better version of the relationship. It can't be the same stuff. It can't be the negative version of the relationship. So that includes me standing up for certain things, because if I don't, then that resentment and passive aggression can come out, and he feels that because he's very sensitive. So even though it's really hard to have conversations with him where I feel we actually listen to each other and take it on, it's going to be important because there's a lot here, and it's not really possible to just ignore all this stuff. So I am going to have to find a way to include my negative experiences of the relationship as a way for us to transform that stuff as well, not just his negative experiences. They both have to be considered.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story with me. We mainly looked at the past and also the painful past because that's the reason we're having that conversation. In a future conversation, we could look into how that next time, the better version of the relationship could effectively look like, what your options are to make it happen, how to communicate that best, and then what are the rules of engagement for both sides to enter a relationship on eye level. For today, let's call it a day. It was a lot to take in, a lot to process. Thank you so much for your honesty, your openness to share that story with me. And I hope this conversation has been helpful to you in your current relationship, in your own process in life. I'm looking forward to talk to you again.